Good evening, fuckers. We are back with the next Train Simulator Classic request video, and this one is a request from MikkDC, and I knew this one was coming. Yeah, from the moment I got this route DLC, I knew that he would be the one to request exactly the request that I got. So the route, we are on the Woodhead line. We are specifically on the Woodhead line, or Woodhead Electric Railway in Blue route DLC. So it is the Woodhead line in the early 70s. And the actual route we are going to be taking is from Manchester Piccadilly. So it's had its name changed over the years, because in the original Woodhead route DLC it is Manchester London Road. So yeah, we are starting at Manchester Piccadilly and our destination is Hadfield. Now that's a very short run, but it's a route that kind of picks itself, because the loco that he wants is the class 506. Now, as far as the 506 is concerned, Hadfield pretty much is the end of the line. It really cannot go beyond Hadfield. There are a lot of very steep inclines once you pass Hadfield, and the 506 really struggles to get over them. So much so that, yeah, if you wanted a destination that was beyond Hadfield, I mean Sheffield is the big one, you had to use the express service, which was pulled by a class 76, or even more specific, a 76BX. So his request was fairly simple, as well as, to me anyway, fairly obvious. Like I say, I knew it was coming. It was to see the class 506 on the Woodhead line in Blue. So whilst this is a request, I'm also going to treat it a bit as a driver's guide, because the 506 can be a bit of a pain in the arse. And okay, I certainly haven't mastered it by any stretch. I've never got close to doing the top speed of this thing, but I like to think I've at least sort of got to grips with how to drive it. I guess we'll find out. Now I'm actually going to do two runs in this video. So we'll do Manchester Piccadilly to Hadfield. It's quite short. I think it's just over 15 miles. And then once we've done that, we will then do the return trip. We'll do Hadfield back to Manchester Piccadilly. This run, we are going to treat it as an express. We're going straight from Manchester to Hadfield without any stops. The return trip, that will be, well, I'll pencil in an all stops service, but there are an awful lot of stops. Well, you can see it's like I say, it's barely 15 miles, and Hadfield is the 14th station. So yeah, there's plenty of stops there. So as far as specifics go, it's autumn, it's raining. There's a very good reason why I chose to have it raining. I can show you another of the features of the 506. And it's 11:30, because why not? So that is the setup. So let's get this up and running. And here we are. So, yep, here we are in the cab of the 506. And check out these state-of-the-art controls. Yeah. You look at these and then you think back to when I was, you know, doing runs in an 801 or something. I mean, what a contrast. Now, let's address something with regards to this route. You can see, yeah, here we are at Manchester Piccadilly. So, yeah, it is up to date. And let's address the other thing. I mean, look at this. This is quite an old route DLC. I'll give it that. But those textures are absolutely horrific, aren't they? I mean, the original Unreal had better textures than that. And that game came out in, what was it, 98, 99? This game came out 10 years later, and yeah. So that is terrible. No other way of putting it. Thankfully, we don't see it for very much, because once we leave the station, the yeah, things do sort of pick up, and okay, right, we don't see very much once we go beyond here, but I mean, everything here looks a damn sight better. We have another 506 with the blue and grey, which looks a lot better, I think, than the one I've chosen. Now, how about this for some blasts from the past? The Intercity APT being advertised as the shape of travel to come. And look at this motor rail, because of course that was still running. I'm not remotely surprised that it no longer runs. It really was a bit of a pointless exercise. On paper it sounded like, yeah, it would be quite good, but no, it really wasn't. If you're not familiar with it, you would basically drive your car to the station. There were only very select few stations that offered it. You would then drive your car up onto a sort of like car transporter wagon that was being pulled behind the passenger train, and then once you got the other end, you drove your car off and away you go. The thing is, the tickets were so expensive that it was actually cheaper just to rent a car when you got to the other end, which is one of the reasons why it stopped. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get the train set up. So first thing we want to do is we want to change the head code. Now this thing can be a bit of a pain in the arse to operate. We've got to constantly keep going back outside. There we go, Hadfield, that's where we are heading. So yeah, we've got off to a good start, which makes a welcome change. Right, next thing is to get the lights sorted out. Now you can actually do the lights manually, but it's a lot easier just to do it this way. Manchester Piccadilly and Hadfield directs, there you go. So the lights are sorted, because the lights on this thing, they are utterly useless as headlights, but they are not there as headlights. It's a bit like the American rail service where, yeah, they the lights are like a code which tells the, you know, 3 or 4 people who actually know what they mean where the train is going. Right, that's everything on that side. No, it isn't. There's one other thing. No, I've got to remember where it is. Actually, yeah, we'll put the cab light on because it is a bit murky. And yep, instrument lights. Because there is an instrument. There it is. It is now illuminated. But that is your brake gauge. That is the only dial we have on this train. This train does not have a speedo. So if you are playing this without the HUD, all I can say is good luck to you. Right, that is the train set up. So Hadfield is 14.73 miles. Like I say, for this first run, we are just going to go straight to Hadfield. We're not stopping at any stations. We're going to see if we can get the train actually up to a decent speed. Also point out, the sander is already set every time we start. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'll keep it on there anyway. So, alright, reverse it into forward. There is no AWS on this loco at all. Let's get underway. So as we are pulling out the station, the speed limit is 15. Now the first thing when it comes to driving this is once you've reached your speed, or in my case once you started speeding there, oh, slow down, there you go. Well yeah, once you've reached your speed, the first thing you got to do is turn the power off, don't just throttle down. Now I'll explain why once we are able to get up to speed. So now we need to turn on the windscreen wipers. Now check this out. Yeah. So while you are in the driving position, the windscreen wiper is utterly useless. So what we need to do is change our position to make ourselves about 7 or 8 feet tall, but now we can actually see where we are going. The line speed has gone up to 30, so we will try and get ourselves up to speed. I'm going to do it in a way that I don't normally recommend, which is, yeah, what I've just done here. We seem to be getting away with it though. So once again, we're up to the speed we want, so we put the throttle back into the off position. So the Woodhead line is, or was, absolutely unique. It was the only line in the whole of Britain that had overhead power, but that overhead power was DC, not AC, 1500 volt DC. So any trains or locos that were built to run on the Woodhead line couldn't work anywhere else. And it's why there was never a huge amount of rolling stock for this line. The class 506 which we are in, there was only ever 7 of them built. We're now on a 50, so we are going to slam it straight into wheat field. As well as keeping an eye on the speed here, you've also really got to keep an eye on the amps that we are getting, because yeah, the power supply is anything but constant. So you notice that our acceleration rate has slowed down quite a bit. We are up to 44, but the amount of power we're getting has really dropped. And this is one of the reasons why you need to be constantly putting the throttle into the off position once you are up to the speed that you want. Okay, so drop it down to off as we pass a stationary 76. But as soon as you put the power on, it doesn't matter what position on the throttle you are actually applying, you will get the same somewhat limited amount of power from the overhead lines. But at the same time, and this is the bit that I really can't sort of like figure out, the amount, the speed that we are going, and therefore the amount that the electric motors are actually already working, also plays a part in how much power you are getting. So we're now on a 75 mph section. So again, we slam it straight into weak field. So the power is now coming in. But yeah, see, we're not getting anything like the amount that we did initially get when we, certainly when we left the station. As we were leaving the station, the amount of power available to us was in 3 figures. So that, plus the fact that we're now on a 1 in 100 uphill section, means that our acceleration is non-existent. In fact, we're doing better than I usually do here, because normally my speed is going down here. The fact that I'm able to keep it at a constant 46.6 is quite the pleasant surprise. So the layout of the Woodhead line seems to have changed a bit over the years. The layout of this compared to the layout of the original Woodhead line route DLC. Yeah, they are very different. We go through Fairfield Station. Now, one thing this this ENEW does very well is brake. The brakes on it are great. So it means that well, I will still brake far too early, as I always do, but yeah, you can actually brake quite a bit later than usual, and you'll still have no problem stopping time. So we need to shave off 20 mph, so we were able to get our speed up to 55.4, which is not bad for this particular loco. So I mean, there you go, we got our speed down to 35.6, the speed that we want. Once we've gone through Guidebridge Station, we can then take it back up to 75. So yeah, we are just entering the 75 zone now. We're in it. Slam it up to weak field again. Now it is kind of handy for me that when I'm playing this game, I kind of drive it like this anyway. I'm looking to go into the top notch on the throttle at the earliest possible opportunity. So the fact that with this loco, you really do need to do that. Is, yeah, I've got no problem with that, because that's, that's pretty much how I drive them all. Now we're on a 1 in 77 uphill gradient, which is why our acceleration rate is now so terrible. So I don't think we are going to hit 50 by the time we actually enter that 50 zone. In fact, I'm absolutely certain of it. The fact that we are still accelerating is, I think, quite impressive actually. I think we've done well to do that. So there we are doing 45 as we enter the 50 mph zone. There goes another 506. So we're in the 75 zone now, but we're still on a 1 in, okay, it's now levelling out, but we are now on a 1 in 185. That's not too bad. We should be able to accelerate reasonably well on this. See how close all these stations are to each other. Newton, Godley and Hattersley all on the route display. There's yet another 506 passes. I'm sure we passed more 506s than there were that, you know, that were ever actually built. Like I say, there was only ever 7 of these things built. So if you were you know, driving a 3+3, so effectively 2 506s coupled together, then you passed another 506 that was you know, a 3+3 configuration. That's more than half the entire 506s that were ever built right there. We definitely need to start braking for this 50, which I think I have left a bit late. Yeah, definitely left it a bit late. That red light is the line next to us. Try and get our speed back up to 50. Yeah. Parallel's not going to be good enough. So yeah, there's really no subtlety at all when it comes to driving this thing. What you basically need to do is, from off, you need to know exactly how fast you plan on going and put the throttle straight into the maximum setting that you are going to need to get it up to the speed you want. So most of the time that means, yeah, you're putting it straight into weak field. And even then, you are kind of still hoping that it is going to work okay. because we're at 52, but our acceleration is still terrible. Now, according to the wiki page on this train, its maximum speed is 75. Now, I've never got it anywhere near 75. I've never even got it up to 60. I think the fastest I've ever got it is about 58. We go through Broadbottom Station, Fat Arse Station as I call it. I'm sure many others call it that as well. There we are, heading towards another fairly steep gradient. 1 in 122, and our speed is coming down. Speed is still coming down, but we need it to come down a bit faster because we've got a 50 mph section coming up. Here we go, we're fine now. I don't know what this disused platform is. Going to need to lose a fair bit of speed here because yeah, we have 10 mph speed limit as we approach Dinting. We are crossing an extremely high viaduct on that 10 mph section. We're also fast approaching the rather awkward entrance to Hadfield station. So yeah, we're on this extremely high yeah, actually it's not really a viaduct as such, but yeah, extremely high and crawling along. I mean, admittedly I've, as usual, braked far too early. But we are, I think we're just about to, yeah, we're now in the 10 mph section, so in fact you could cross most of it faster than the 10. You certainly got to trust your braking though if you're going to do that. So right, here we are at Dinting. We are coming down this section here. I am speeding. But this is taking us on a route away from Hadfield. It also takes us onto a downhill gradient that is pretty steep, and we do start picking up speed. Yeah, we already are. We don't need to go too far down here. fact, I'm fairly sure we have easily gone far enough. So we need to stop here, and we need to change ends. And now we can start to make our way up along this line here. Stick it straight in the weak field because we're having to try and get up this 1 in 100 from a standing start. So this is where we've just come from, here on the left. So now the points are set so we go straight on, and this then takes us on to Hadfield. And there are a couple of places on this line where this is necessary. But of course, with us doing this as a quick drive scenario, I really don't know why it does it here, because this line, if we had stopped on platform, I think it's platform 2, we could have just kept on going. So why it felt the need to do that, I don't know. There we are, Hadfield is now just coming into view. So we're into a 70 zone, turn off the power and now bring it back on, slamming it straight in a weak field. With the 1 in 100 gradient we're on, it will affect our acceleration, and it's affecting it massively. This is the area that really does catch a lot of people out. See, although we are on this 1 in 100 uphill section, it doesn't seem right that we're going this slowly. So this is where I'm thinking I am still doing something that's not quite right with this. Just check the exterior, but yeah, because we're now on the other end, it has the Manchester Piccadilly and it doesn't have any of the lights showing. I should have really set them up before we got underway again, but well, there you go, I have done now. Well, I've got the lights done anyway. Now, the only thing that makes me think it must be entirely down to the gradient is the fact that 40.5 amps is what we're getting. It's not fantastic, but it's not terrible. It's certainly not low enough to ensure that we will only be able to do 16.4. So the gradient must be playing its part in this. So here we are at Hadfield Station. I'll tell you now, those cunts out there have been doing that since midnight. I really do feel like I'm on the verge of going out there with a fucking shotgun, if I had one. Anyway, there we go. So that is, or was anyway, Manchester to Hadfield, and despite the loco's somewhat unusual sort of driving methods that it kind of forces you to do, it's not too bad, and you can certainly get up to speed, or at least you can certainly get up to speed if you are doing an express run with no stops. Yeah, we started at Manchester, we finished at Hadfield, and we didn't stop anywhere else. So let's do the return run. So we'll start at Hadfield and we are finishing at Manchester Piccadilly. We'll say it stopped raining for this one, and we'll give it, we'll give it an hour. So for this one, yeah, we will stop at not every station, but we will stop at several. But yeah, see, so we do have other stations beyond Hadfield: Woodhead, Dunford Bridge, Penistone, Wombwell. Actually, Wombwell is, yeah, sidings, yeah. Wath is pretty much pure freight. And I mean, Sheffield Victoria, it's a major station. But the 506 can't get there because there are a lot more of those gradients. They are much steeper. I think some of them are 1 in 59, and they go on for miles. And the 506 just can't do it. Or if it can, it barely able to. So yeah, Hadfield is pretty much the limit as far as how far it can go on this route, which admittedly is still you know, it's the majority of the stations, so it's not too bad. Anyway, so let's get the return trip up and running. I'll also tell you now, I have never done the return trip. I've never done a run from Hadfield to Manchester Piccadilly, so I have no idea how this is going to go. Okay, well, brakes are actually on this time, which is a good job because they need to be. Right, let's get everything set up. So into forward, we want the lights sorting out. So don't really need the cab light this time, but we do need the instrument lights. And yeah, Manchester Piccadilly and Hadfield direct. That's what we want. So they are okay. Yeah, let's have a look through these vast array of controls. Yes, they are set up alright. Now there are additional controls here, so for the pantograph up and down. This one, the overload reset button, you've got to drive this train like a fucking maniac to overload it. So yeah, crew heat set. So yeah, you can actually heat the train. There you go, passenger heated. So you know, even though on the cab certainly suggests that this thing is an absolute crate, and let's be honest, it is an absolute crate. But let's have a look in the cab, in the passenger compartments. It looks fantastic, and from what I have discovered from you know, looking around online and that, it was incredibly comfortable. The seats were really good. And you know, this, okay, I dare say it's not exactly mahogany, but you know, the wood panelling on the you know, on the passenger compartments and that was all great. So they went all out for, you know, the passenger comfort and everything, but the driver and the guard, yeah, they did not have the best of rides. So, okay, let's see then. You saw I had to do effectively a 3-point turn with this train to get us into Hadfield. Let's see if we have to do the same when it comes to leaving. So, let's get underway. So because we've got this 15 mph section coming up more or less as soon as we leave the platform, we'll only put it into parallel. Yeah, now this 1 in 100 is against us. I don't know why. I must have held the brakes on for far too long. So now we've come off the points, we're back onto a 70, but we have double yellows here. And of course, no AWS, so if the signals are against us for any reason, you really gotta keep a lookout. So we'll see what the next signal is. It's where the 40 mph zone kicks in, but of course we've got a 15 after it, so we don't really want to be picking up too much more speed than we already are. So we'll shut it off. We'll let the gradient do the accelerating for us. In fact, really, we want to start bringing our speed down. So yeah, we've now got single yellow. So I am pretty sure it is, yeah, it is going to send us down that 3-point turn section. So we're into the 40 section, or the 40 zone. And this 15 is because we are going to be going over these points. So now it's showing us clear. So we need to make sure we are clear of those points there. Certainly are now. So, right, let's do this properly. So, we'll set the tail lights. Right, change ends. There we go. So now, yeah, our stop at Dinting is up ahead. So yeah, that's right. Instrument lights we want on. There we go. I think that is all of them. Yeah. So there you go. Our one dial is now illuminated. So forward. And we can now start our very slow 10 mph crawl towards Dinting station platform. And since we are going so slowly, we may as well make this our first stop. So very sharp corner that we are on, very sharp curve, and yeah, certainly not an ideal sort of layout for a station. Nevertheless, here we are. So yeah, a few people getting off, and we've got a few getting on, so big old gaps between the doors and the platforms. But right, I think because of the yeah, we're using the exterior view, we're not going to get the call from the guard. We can call him ourselves, but right, let's get on the way. So, no, let's just go into series. We've still got this 10 mph section. And yeah, I was a bit too slow with the brakes there. This 10 mph limit, it really does feel painfully slow. So we're now in a 40, and we are on this extremely extremely tall. It actually makes a good screenshot. Yeah, we'll have one of them. But we can now start picking up speed, so 40, we'll stick it in a parallel. Downhill gradient obviously helps a bit as well, although it's now so shallow as to really make no difference. So we're now in a 50 zone, fast approaching a 75 zone. So the class 506, say an absolute old rust bucket. So these locos were initially designed and the purchase order made by LNER in 1938, and unfortunately the first one was not actually, you know, it didn't roll off the production line or whatever it was until 1950. Yeah, there was a bit of an event that went on between 1938 and 1950, which rather sort of interrupted the manufacturing of these things. I think you might have heard of it. It was called World War II. But once production actually got underway of these things, nobody thought to update them and use the much newer technology and that was available. So they stuck to the original design brief like a fucking limpet. So consequently, when they did roll off the production line, they were out of date to the point of being obsolete the moment they first came out the factory. And that might explain why, despite the fact that, yeah, they were built and ready in 1950, they did not enter service until 1954. And I really do think it was a case of British Rail, as they were then, or British Railways, thinking, look, we've got these things, we've got to at least use them. Alright, so, yep, next stop is at Fat Arse Station. Nice scenic locale. There's one thing about this line, it's a fantastically scenic line once you are out of all the heavily industrialised locations. So that stop done. Let's bang it straight into Wakefield. We're on a 75 mph limit here. So when the line was finally closed, there was a proposal to convert the 506s to the standard you know, 24 kilovolt AC electrical supply and run them on other lines. I don't think it will surprise you at all to hear that none of the other lines were overly eager to have them, and in the end they just got scrapped. Because of course the other big problem with them was that because they were built for the Woodhead line, they were anything but standard. And that was what British Rail really wanted. Of course, the modernisation plan came along in 1955, just, you know, barely a year after these things entered service on this line. And British Rail really wanted they wanted standard designs so that you know, maintenance costs could be kept you know, low, and the actual, you know, being able to maintain the things was somewhat straightforward, and you can't blame them for wanting that. You know, it's what was needed, especially as when the modernisation plan was implemented in '55. You know, rationing had only recently ended. So here we are at Roy Hattersley Station. Godley Station is not exactly far away. It's not even half a mile away. Again, nice. Well, if you look that way, it's a nice scenic route. You look that way and it's like, yeah, this is the 1970s, all right. Okay, let's get back underway. Since Godley Station is so close, we'll just run it up in a parallel. But the mistake that you see a lot of people make with driving this train is that they will step up and up and up as they are going along. So they will start in, well, sometimes they start with the inch setting, then yeah, take it up to series and then up to parallel. Of course, by the time you've done all that, the electrical supply is already dwindling. So you're going to find yourself really struggling to you know, get any kind of acceleration, and you're still only doing about 25 mph. So yeah, you've got to treat her a bit rough. Hot baked potatoes, 10p. Christ. These days you probably couldn't even get a single uncooked spud for 10p. £10p for a jacket spud. Fucking hell. It ain't bad. Anyway, that was Godley Station. Up in the parallel. See, we've got very nearly 200 amps there. So you get, as you can clearly see there, you get the vast majority of the power as you start moving. So what you need to do is take full advantage of it. So sticking the throttle straight into the maximum setting that you are planning to use. Of course, the line speed is going to dictate that. But if you try driving it, say through the steps, going from inch then up to series and that, then by the time you're in the top two settings, either parallel or the weak field, you've lost a lot of the amps that are being provided, and therefore your acceleration is just nigh on non-existent. Like I say, I'm okay with it because this is pretty much how I drive passenger trains anyway in this simulator. So I probably don't get too many sort of points as far as passenger comfort, but it's not often that I'm late. So, Newton Station, here we go. See again, it's very scenic locale, it looks really nice, until you look that way. Okay, onwards. Actually, we're going to bung this straight in a weak field, so yeah, there you go, 205 amps were made available to us there. But yeah, 75 mph track speed limit now, so yeah, this is where we can stick it straight in the weak field. So we still got fairly decent acceleration, and we got ourselves up to, nearly 45. So next stop is Guide Bridge. I'm actually going to slow us down, or yeah, reduce the power. It's entering this 50 zone. Don't quite know why this 50 zone is here, I guess we'll find out. Looks like it's another station, but off on a branch that we are not... This here is quite a good illustration of the issue with this line. The way the track has been laid is very haphazard. And you have junctions galore, and it is such a mess that I can imagine that derailings and things like that must have been a fairly common occurrence. And one other feature of this line that they have implemented in this DLC is that because it was being run on pretty much a threadbare budget, a lot of the time, if you know some rails needed replacing, they didn't have those rails there. So if they had, for example, a prefabricated crossover section, they would have to put that down, because at least it meant that, you know, the line was still continuous. But yeah, that was all they had. So you would come along and suddenly see like a crossover section here, even though neither end are connected to anything, because that's all they had available to do the line repairs with. Guidebridge station is quite small, as you can see. Well, actually, I'll say that it's the stopping area that we have to stop at is quite small. You can clearly see the platform itself is pretty fucking... it's a hefty old size. I mean, Guidebridge was certainly one of the major stations on this line. So we're going to creep along a little bit more, try and get the whole thing on the section that it wants us on. There we go. So, yep, here we are at Guidebridge. I think it's around here. Yeah. This poster, we can only just see it in the light, for Sheffield. Like London but better. Sheffield. I mean, if that is not pure optimism in poster form, then I don't know what is. If anyone is seriously trying to tell me that Sheffield is like London in any way, and then to add on to it, but better, yeah, deluded doesn't even begin to describe it. Here we are, see, these crossover sections, and they're not going anywhere. That's because that's all they had to replace, you know, damaged lines. Got another section there. So we're now into a 75 section, that's all we'll do. We'll sum it off. And now bung it into the weak field, and this should... yeah, there we go. Good amount of amps coming in there. Trouble is, we've got Fairfield Station coming up next, so yeah, we're not going to get up to particularly great speeds. But for a commuter train, I mean, I was recently doing scenarios on the North London and Goblin lines, and the max speed on that was 45. So the fact that we were able to do, you know, 75, well, the line speed limit is 75. You can see there again, the brakes are fantastic on this thing. But yeah, for commuter running, speed on this thing is actually not too shabby at all. So, Fairfield. Is that an advert for a Ford Capri? It does look like one. 1600 Capri. They were great cars, the old Capris. Right, off we go. Stick it straight in a weak fuel again. There you go, almost got 210 amps from it. So next stop is Gorton. I mean, I might as well do an all stops service now. I've stopped at every stop so far. There's no reason to not continue doing so. Don't think we're going to hit 50 before I have to brake, but we're going to try it. There we go. So 50 mph. I mean, it's not too shabby at all. Like I say, the top speed of this loco is supposed to be 75. I've never got anywhere near that. But for this run, the speeds are absolutely fine. I think I might have left the braking a little bit late here, or I might have got it absolutely spot on. There we go. I'll also point out, yeah, a train that was designed in 1938, fully automated electric doors. Surely one of the first to have that. I mean, the London Underground trains, I think, had it, but so if we're talking about, regular train services, this must be one of the first. So the max line speed is coming down to 50 any second. Next station is Ashbury's. So we're in the 50 zone. So there we go, 50 mph again. So yeah, just one more intermediate stop before we then reach Manchester London Road, as it was, in Manchester Piccadilly as it is now, and in this route DLC. Right, next station, I can't remember the name of it. I mean, is it Ardwick? Anyway, we'll just run in parallel mode here because, yeah, it is Ardwick and we have a 30 mph limit as we approach that station. So, parallel mode will be absolutely fine. So yeah, turn power off just before we reach 40 mph. Release the brakes just slightly too early, there we go. Ardwick station, another one that's right on a curve. Not a great place to put a station, really. So, yep, here we are, our penultimate stop. Yeah, it's not so scenic around here. I mean, it's well rendered when you consider how terrible the internal textures of the Manchester Piccadilly station were. To then see this area here, it's a massive improvement. Anyway, we only need go into series for this last bit because we're going to spend most of it only doing 15. So this section still looks quite similar to the original Woodhead Line DLC. It's a huge amount of rails and that, all extending out from Manchester. Let's just get us at least a bit closer to the 15 mph. There we go. So we take a look. Here is Manchester Piccadilly station. That section there, that's the part that takes you down to Liverpool, or should I say up to Liverpool. So yeah, all very nicely rendered in that. There's us. Not really used this view in this run. Yeah, we're going to be here a fucking eternity waiting for that, so... So into the 15 zone. Creep along for the last few yards, get us up to the buffers, or fairly close to them. There we go. So there we are, Manchester to Hadfield and back in the class 506 as requested, and also a bit of a drive guide for this one as well. For some reason it's not actually stopping the scenario, despite the fact that we are very clearly here. I'll tell you what, let's try something to get it to stop. Ah, I see why it's not. We are supposed to stop on platform 2 and we are on platform 3. Okay. Well, in that case, let's get on to the other end. And let's see what happens. We've got to finish it properly, you know. I can't just stop there. So yeah, we need to be on that side. Now okay, the red is on that side. So yeah, the yellow here, so we are fine to leave. Now where are the points that take us on to platform 2? I see them. Yeah, just coming up here. So we need to make sure we've got the entire train past all of those various points. I think that will be okay. Change ends again, and yet now we have platform 2 here, so onwards. I'm not going to bother, you know, trying to get us right to the very end of the platform again. I managed it that last time. I didn't do too badly, so we'll just get us in a decent position and then stop. And this looks like a decent position, so. So there we are. Now we are on platform 2. So yeah, that then that was Manchester Piccadilly to Hadfield and then back again on the Woodhead Line in Blue in the class 506 with the sort of drive guide thrown in for good measure. Yeah, it's a great line, and right, yeah, the loco is an absolute rust bucket, but it's a loco that I do quite like driving, mainly because of the fact that well, my driving style is absolutely ideally suited to this thing, but a lot of players who are much better at driving trains in this game than I am will have to adjust their driving style. Not a hell of a lot, but you do have to adjust it. In fact, this route DLC comes in for a lot of criticism. The vast majority of it comes from people who are unable, or more accurately unwilling, to learn how to actually drive the 506 and even more so the 76BX properly. They just sort of think, well, I'm driving it in exactly the same way as I drive all the other ones, and yet now suddenly this train doesn't work. No, because you've got to change it. And because they won't do that, they say, you know, they then say it's the fault of the DLC, which is absolute horseshit, of course. So yeah, I do like the DLC. I do like the loco. It's a good one. So yeah, like I said at the start, I knew this request was coming, but yeah, I'm not remotely sorry that it did. So that was a good one. That, yeah, did like that one. 3 speeding errors for me. That's fantastic. So yeah, there we go. So yes, that is that video done, and if you have a request, then all you need to do, click on the link in the description. It will take you to the video where I show all of the routes and all of the locos that I have available. There's also a pinned comment there which shows any updates, so any routes or locos that I have got since recording that video. So far there's only one, the class 85 loco, which appeared in the last video. Yeah, and if the route and stroke or loco that you want to see is there, bung your request in the comments there and we'll get it done. Anyway, enough of that. That is this one done, and we'll see you at the next one.